6 grave violations against children in times of war, from widespread killing, maiming, abduction and sexual violence to recruitment into armed forces and groups and strikes on schools and hospitals, as well as essential water facilities. Children living in conflict zones around the world continue to come under attack on a shocking scale. To better monitor, prevent and end these attacks, the United Nations Security Council identified and condemned 6 grave violations against children in times of war: killing and maiming of children, recruitment or use of children in armed forces and armed groups, attacks on schools or hospitals, rape or other grave sexual violence, abduction of children, and denial of humanitarian access for children. Armed forces and armed groups are required by international humanitarian law to take measures to protect civilians, including children, who are particularly vulnerable during times of war. Killing and maiming of children can be a result of direct targeting or indirect actions, including torture. Killing and maiming can occur through crossfire, landmines, cluster munitions, improvised or other indiscriminate explosive devices, or even in the context of military operations, house demolitions, search and arrest campaigns, or suicide attacks. Harm to children is often caused by direct attacks or attacks in which there has not been adequate distinction between civilian and military objectives, and where parties to conflict fail to comply with their obligations under international humanitarian law, including the principles of distinction and proportionality, and the requirement to take all feasible precautions to avoid, and in any event minimize, loss of civilian life. Recruitment or use of children in armed forces and armed groups refers to compulsory, forced or voluntary conscription or enlistment of children into any kind of armed force or armed group. The use of boys and girls by armed forces or armed groups can be in any capacity, including as fighters, cooks, porters, messengers, and spies, or when they are subjected to sexual exploitation. Attacks on schools or hospitals include the targeting of schools or medical facilities that cause the total or partial destruction of such facilities. Schools and hospitals should be protected spaces where children are safe even in times of conflict. Yet continued attacks on such facilities have underscored the catastrophic impact of armed conflict on children's rights, including rights to education and health. Attacks on schools and hospitals not only put children's lives at risk, but also disrupt their learning and limit their access to medical assistance, which can have a lifelong impact on their education, economic opportunities, and overall health.